Here in the fourth quarter, Newport Harbor has a commanding lead as they come out in the I formation, looking to put this game away. The handoff goes to Montreal Bonds, off tackle. He runs through two defenders and has another touchdown. This kid is special. Now Bonds is lined up as the Wildcat quarterback as he brings a man in motion, and he calls his own number. He's got room! Montreal Bonds! No one will catch him! Touchdown! Welcome to the recruiting special for Season 9 of the Kalispell Warhawk Football Dynasty. What do all of you think of the first player in this year's recruiting class? I was so excited when we got the commit from Montreal Bonds. It was an insta-commit very early in the year after maybe our first or second game, and I couldn't wait to show you the type of player that we have going into next season. Bonds has great size at the running back position, 6'2", 247 pounds, but wait till you see the ratings. Bonds is a special talent for a variety of reasons. He fits what I've been looking for as that power running back, but he brings much more to the table with more than adequate speed and acceleration. He offers some moves in form of a spin and a juke. He'll obviously break a lot of tackles, and he can also catch the football. It seems like he catches the tough plays easier than the simple ones, but we found ourselves a special player, and you all know that I love finding talented running backs. I think Bonds has a chance to be the best we've ever seen come through Kalispell. So welcome to this year's recruiting special. We have a lot to talk about today. Blackjack has returned to introduce a number of prospects to us, and we're going to get into the action now. It's been one incredible run for Kalispell, winning the Rose Bowl 2 years ago, going undefeated in the process, and then taking home the national championship just last season. Recruiting has changed drastically over these 9 seasons. We've gone from a team in Montana that really couldn't reach out to the best prospects and get any attention, and now we have the possibility of bringing in a number of high caliber players. And we've seen players like Brandon Warren come in and immediately change what our team is capable of. So now that we're in the Pac-12, second year in, I obviously want to see us take it a step further with recruiting. I thought we did a year ago. Last year's recruiting class was among my favorites, with a variety of intriguing talents that are mostly redshirted for this season. Players like Thomas Kane could easily see long, great careers here with Kalispell. We also have some key true freshmen playing, like Marcus Jordan, Daniel Foster, and James Huggins. So what's going to happen this year for Kalispell? Well, obviously with Brandon Warren being a junior, you need to start thinking about what's next at the quarterback position. That's definitely something we'll touch on today. I also thought that going after a running back was pretty important. We have Kyle Thomas as a senior this season, and then we have 2 juniors and Austin Jenkins. And obviously getting Montreal Bonds really impacts what we're going to do on offense moving forward. I also think it's pretty important to address wide receiver. We don't have a ton of speed at that position in general, and we don't have too many outstanding talents. We have Justin Payne on the rise now these last couple seasons. He's been excellent. Carl Joyce, meanwhile, has really struggled this year to make an impact. Only 9 catches, and his longest catch has gone for 18. I'm hoping that changes pretty soon. It's also the final year for Hayden Jean-Charles at tight end. He's had such a great career with us. And we've also been developing an offensive line that's going to see some graduates in the next couple of seasons. We have 2 seniors, a few juniors. So, obviously, you almost have to look at every position every year. But this year I wanted to really focus on going out to find those skill positions on offense, and then just to continue building depth along the offensive line and looking for impact players in the front 7. We already know we have an amazing start to this recruiting class by getting Montrell Bonds, but there is much work to do. So let's kick it over to Blackjack and see what he has in store for us this year in year 9 recruiting.
Glad to be back here on the recruiting trail with the Kane and the Kalispell Warhawks. Go figure, the year that I missed is the year in which Kalispell wins the national championship. But I've gotten to see some pretty interesting things over that course of the year. The emergence now of Mo Collins, man, look at him this year. He's such a dominant defensive end. I didn't expect him to be at this level this fast. He had so much upside, but man, he's looking like a monster. Same with Reno Springs at corner. He's still developing a little bit, but hey, he's finally stepped up into his role and made a big stopping play there at the national championship to seal the win for Kalispell. And then it's also been interesting to see guys who have developed into what I thought they could be, or even better than that. Boogie Turner, for instance, defensive tackle. He seemed a little too undersized for the position, but he had so much talent. He was so strong, and now he is an absolute wrecking ball in the middle. And then Hayden Jean-Charles, a 3-star prospect. Who would have guessed that he would be a Mackey Award recipient and possibly the best out of the Jean-Charles clan, who is known for producing quarterbacks, and on top of that, possibly be the best player in Kalispell history. We had our fair share of misses and some average recruits as well, but that's the fun of this, is being able to finally bring that person in and see what we can mold them into. I mean, even Bo Lee became a fan favorite. So how about we rally the troops and go into our own hangar and see what we got here in Kalispell. Well, there's 2 prospects who we can't recruit right away, but we will be talking about them in the next 2 years. This is quarterback Courtney Jean-Charles, so yes, the Jean-Charles, the last of the brothers here of that family. And then in the backfield, who may also become the quarterback after Courtney is gone, Taylor Jean-Charles. They've made quite the deadly duo here at Kalispell thus far, really leading the offense this year for the marksmen. But we're going to be talking probably a little bit more on the defensive side this year when we were talking about products from Kalispell. But next year, if we are on the look for a quarterback and we don't get one this year, Courtney is probably the guy who's going to be on the radar and probably the easiest one to get. Maybe we finally bring in a Jean-Charles to play quarterback for us for once. But let's stay focused on this year, and on the defensive side, looking at corner Ross Meshtorovich. He is the leader thus far on this Kalispell defense in the secondary, nearly 6 feet tall, giving him a height advantage over most corners in college football. Very good in man-to-man coverage, has great form when tackling, can bring down receivers the second they have the ball, so you don't have to worry about him getting juked out or having tackles broken on him too much. My worry with him is zone coverage, and I feel like he's maybe 2 or 3 years away from being a more completed corner. Alongside with him on that defense is another coverage player, used to play safety, now plays outside linebacker. That's Tyrell Jefferson II. Interesting guy, a lot of straight line speed, not very agile, which is why he kind of moved down from that safety spot into a right side or outside linebacker. So I think if he works a lot on that agility and gets better on his moves in terms of shedding blocks, he could be a great linebacker for Kalispell in the next few years. Maybe similar to a Xavier Bozeman, where that was the worry with him at first. Now, once we start to get outside of the state of Montana, that's where things start to go south for us. And it's not because these 2 states in particular are south of Montana, but because these are usually big recruiting routes for us, California and Florida. The first prospect we're taking a look at here, I was actually supposed to be looking for the middle linebacker of the other team, Martin Stevens, who we did lose the recruiting battle on, but I came away more impressed with this running back, Tariq Ridgway out of Oakland. He's a big fan of Marshawn Lynch, loved watching him growing up, and wears number 10 in his honor because that's the number that he wore at Cal. A big, bruising, powerful running back. Runs through tackles, does not give up on plays, continues to fight through tackles every way through. He is outstanding. He had that one play that I really loved of him, where he just hit a spin move to get out of a hole, and then broke to the outside and ran it all the way in for 6. I think he's going to be an outstanding talent wherever he ends up going, and unfortunately, it's not going to be Kalispell this year. And then there's Marquise Cortez, the middle linebacker out there at Lincoln High, where they produced a lot of great defensive talent out there. He is a slugging, hard-hitting middle linebacker who has some decent cover skills, but his speed and agility is the thing that's the most frightening. Look how quick he gets off of that offensive lineman and attacks the quarterback immediately and forces him to get rid of that football. Again, another prospect that's not looking our way, and this is a state that we normally win in California, but none this year. We missed on all 3. So then I checked out Florida, and I wanted to go to Gulf Coast, where we picked up guys like Terrence McKinley III. This is also a school where Sharquest Towns came out of. They had a free safety there that I thought could be very similar to KJC in terms of his range and everything in Cotton Daniels, but because proximity to home was a big thing for him, he's narrowed it down to Florida and FSU. We don't have a chance. So I took a look at Amari Jennings, their wide receiver, the number 3 wide receiver in the nation. Again, another top talent there for him, a speedy guy who they originally had as a running back, but showed great hands, great agility, much better use than just being a running back, and no interest whatsoever. So I'm taking interest in their junior quarterback, Randall Cross, a pocket passer, and seeing what we can do with him next year. Again, another whiff on a big state. So let's focus on a positive. In Nevada, there's Ty Navarro. He goes to the same school that Mo Collins went to 2 years ago. Now, here's the thing that I have on him that kind of worries me a bit. He's a project. He's got a 6'4", 190 wiry frame. He can go up and get the ball in the end zone, but he doesn't have speed, so I worry how he's going to get separation. Sure, he can release off the ball, you can throw it up to him, he'll go and grab it, but if he doesn't have the ability to route run, you can really only use him in one area, and that's the red zone. So sure, he may get you a lot of touchdowns, but where are his uses outside of that? This is a project. That said, I know you're going to love this guy, tight end Drake Maddox out of Spokane, Washington. Oh boy, I really wish we could have found him maybe 3 or 4 years ago and paired him together with Hayden John Charles. This was the compliment you were looking for when you wanted that more Patriot-style offense with 2 tight ends. Oh boy, yeah, he's a vertical receiving threat. Not necessarily a great blocker, but boy, he puts it all together in that big frame of his in terms of the receiving game. And he's hard to bring down as well. He will fight for yards after the catch. I love everything that I've seen from him, especially here where they run a tight end wheel for him and he goes up over the cornerback, nabs that ball right over his head and brings down both feet. He's an amazing athlete, and I think he has the potential to even be better than Hayden John Charles in terms of a receiving tight end. And then there's wide receiver Jerry Lewis, who is also a part of that receiving corps with Drake Maddox. I don't think that he's going to have the explosiveness to be an outside receiving guy, you know, where he can get away with the height with someone like Amari Jennings. But with him here, I think you can use him more as a slot guy, someone who will fight for extra yardage after he catches the ball. You can use him on a few screens, and he'll fight through and pick up first downs. Reliable hands. I just don't think there's anything more to him, though, than just a slot guy. But if you do want a do-everything guy, it is Lameka Warwick out of Ohio. We talked about him a few years ago, and now it's his time to rise. I have no idea how he is only the 8th ranked best quarterback in the nation. I have no idea how he is only a 4-star talent. This is 5-star talent. There is no question about this. In my 2 years of seeing him thus far out there in Ohio, he is a generational talent. He's a guy that has played strong safety, free safety, outside linebacker, running back, wide receiver, and it is now the quarterback of this team in his senior year. He has got a cannon for an arm. He's been accurate thus far playing there in Evanston for Ohio, and I thought for sure Ohio State would be the one after him. I thought this is one we couldn't win whatsoever. But we are in the Lameka Warwick sweepstakes, and if we get him, you have your answer to what to do once Brandon Warren is gone. He is going to be the successor, and there will be no need to recruit a quarterback for the next 3 to 4 years if we do get him. But we're in a battle with Penn State right now to try to get him, so we have to stay aggressive if we want to bring Lemeka in. He is an absolute game changer for this program, even though we just won a national championship. And that's all I've got for recruiting this year. Kane, I heard that you have found a generational talent at running back, or maybe not generational talent, but one of the best running back talents you've ever had at Kalispell. So I'm interested to hear what you got on him. I will be going back around and looking and seeing what recruits I can find for next year. So tell us a little bit, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you once again, Blackjack. He has brought another group of prospects in for this season, and there are some key ones that I've been looking at for a while. Lemeka Warrick, of course, as maybe the top quarterback in this class, but they're not ranking him as such. Warrick would absolutely be the perfect player to take over for Brandon Warren after he graduates. Warrick was a bit underrated going into this season, as you see the +6 next to his overall, but the throw power and accuracy combined with speed make me think that transitioning from Warren to him would be pretty seamless. But it's obviously going to be very difficult. We lucked out that Brandon Warren didn't catch a lot of attention coming out of North Dakota. Not going to be so easy in the city of Columbus, Ohio. I'm shocked Ohio State is not in the mix here. Penn State is, so is Cincinnati, and then you have us. We're going all out here to get Lemeka Warrick, but it might not be enough. He does have a visit with Penn State upcoming, and that could go a long way towards sealing this recruiting battle. We're going to have to stay close for a while before we get our visit in. So this is looking pretty uncertain, but it's not our only quarterback option. Here is Luke Irvin from Cranford, New Jersey, the number 10 ranked quarterback in this class, who's receiving less attention than he should. But overall, Irvin is a solid quarterback prospect. Good arm, great accuracy, that's his calling card. But you're not going to get the dynamic running ability with Irvin. We've had an offense, of course, before with J.R. Battle. We've played with Justin Colbert. If we went with Luke Irvin, the offense would once again change. This appears to be a pretty winnable battle for us, and I'll be offering Irvin a scholarship probably next week. I scouted a lot of new players this week, so I've had to go through a lot of scouting points to get the board that I like. But Irvin is certainly in play. It would be a great quarterback for us to add, but it would change the offense again. Dallas Davis is the actual number 1 ranked quarterback, and Warrick is much more talented than he is. Davis actually came in overrated this season. We're in first place for Davis, but we're not that aggressive for him because he's not a running threat, his arm isn't that strong, and his accuracy is just passable. So yeah, he's certainly a college football quarterback and probably a pretty good one, but we have better options out there and we're putting more resources into those players. It sure seems like between us and Penn State, someone's going to end up with Lemeka Warrick. Maybe Cincinnati is able to get into there. But it looks like someone's going to win Warrick and the other team is probably going to have a chance to win Davis if they want him. I knew I was going to like Drake Maddox quite a bit, and the highlights only reinforce that. Maddox fits that vertical threat tight end that I love to have. Hayden John Charles really isn't a vertical threat, you wouldn't think, but he fits the role so well because he just catches the football at an outstanding level. That's where Maddox, I think, falls short a little bit. He's not the most stellar in terms of just securing the football, and his route running is pretty raw. But if you look at his overall speed and where he could be in a few years, then you're talking about a pretty special player. And as you would expect, this is very competitive, and we're falling out of it, hopefully not too far, because I love to get Maddox on this team. Arkansas is currently in the lead, and they already had the visit for him, so I want to see where this battle goes now. He'll visit with Boise in a couple weeks, and then he'll hopefully come to Kalispell if this battle is still going on. So hopefully we can make up some ground because we're pretty close to being locked out. Another top player we are looking at is Shannon Somerville from Texarkana, Texas. This is a 2-team battle between us and Ole Miss. Somerville is 6'7", 257 pounds. And he is the brother of Shea Somerville, we saw come through recruiting a couple of years ago. Somerville fits what I like as a pass rusher. He's pretty complete. He can play the run. I always go after these players who seem like that after a couple of years they'd have these full skill sets with no major holes. And Somerville's probably one of the best that I've scouted. And if we had a chance to play him with someone like Maurice Collins for a couple of years, that'd be great. If we get Somerville, he'd certainly play early. The other player I'm going pretty aggressive for is the second best defensive tackle in the country, Bill Long, and we're in a battle against Washington for Long. Long is very good at rushing the passer. He has good strength as well. I want to get some more interior rush on this team, and we're seeing just how powerful that can be with a player like Boogie Turner, but obviously we're going to need more players to come through, and someone like Long would be a great addition. Blackjack also introduced us to Tyrell Jefferson, and I really look at a lot of linebackers each year, and then we get into the actual games and we see so many that are dictated by a linebacker. Remember when Xavier Bozeman almost single-handedly won us a game a season ago, and Marcus Calhoun had so many great games. We've had a lot of terrific linebacker performances, and it's because we keep going out to find great players and we're constantly deep at the position. So with Jefferson, it would take some work, but I think that he could really fit like Xavier Bozeman. He's good in coverage, has pretty good speed, but he might not be the best against the run or getting off blocks. But I think that Jefferson could certainly fit this defense after a couple of years. I love having these uncontested offensive line battles, and Josh Schmidt will probably be coming to Kalispell here before too long. He's a 3-star guard and a 75 overall. He's very strong, and I think that he has a chance to be a very high quality guard and someone that could be a great player to block for Montrell Bonds. Let's get him to visit here. Let's go this week when it's this easy. We know we're going to win. I want it done as soon as possible so I can put these points somewhere else. Ty Navarro's an interesting one. He's one of those receivers that tends to have a better career in high school and college, but not so much in the NFL. He's really strong. He's a 4-star receiver, but the speed really holds him back. And like Blackjack really said, he's mostly a red zone threat. He's not really a run after the catch threat. He doesn't have great breakaway speed, but you know I like finding roles for various players. And when you find a specific role, suddenly that player is able to shine. You don't have to have a player be the do everything. You have special talents for that. Navarro also has a pretty significant injury history, so I'm a little worried about that. But in terms of finding someone who could be a physical presence in the red zone, there's always a need for that. Ross Mastorovich is from Billings, Montana. He's a 3-star corner, and we're in the lead for him as well. We didn't have the best of luck so far when it comes to recruiting the top-end talent, but we're doing well in the mid-tier. And what I love about Ross is that man cover ability. You know what Daniel Foster's all about. He's a man cover corner, and our scheme is changing before your eyes here in Season 9. We're getting away with more man coverage than we've ever called before, and players like Mastorovich would only make that even easier. He's really good in press coverage, and pairing up someone like him with Foster would make our defense really scary when you apply it with a pass rush. Also, the tackling skills for Ross are outstanding. He could play inside. He probably could play outside too. So I love that flexibility. There were a number of players I had interest in that Blackjack introduced us to, but we just didn't fare well on these recruiting battles. Amari Jennings seems to be headed to Georgia or another large school. Tariq Ridgway was intriguing to me, but thankfully we won out on Montrell Bonds because Ridgway never really considered us. Marquise Cortez, he's headed out to Oregon State perhaps, so maybe we'll see him in the future. And Martin Stevens is likely headed to Colorado. As we sit right now, I really don't think this class is going to be among our best. It has a chance if we can get someone like Lameka Warwick, but we still might end up getting an amazing quarterback. We're likely to get a great quarterback for the future. I think we'd be able to easily win this battle for Luke Irvin. And then we look at us already having Montrell Bonds, and that's a great start to this class. But it might not have as much star power as we've seen in the past, but this still could be a really good class for us. Trey Walker is one player I uncovered just during this current week, so we haven't gotten into this battle much, but it's hardly going anywhere. Walker is a 6'8", 240-pound athlete. I love looking at athletes with that kind of size because they tend to have more versatile skill sets, so if you're creative, you can find a role for somebody that way. Walker to me is a defensive end. His coverage ratings are not very good. His speed is adequate, but it's more so his strength, acceleration, and the block shedding that stand out to me. So I see a very tall and intriguing edge rusher here that I'd love to bring in. We are currently in the lead for the number 5 ranked 5-star wide receiver Nick Lindsay. We're battling against Texas for this one, and Texas has been an outstanding recruiting team lately. They were the top recruiting team in the nation a year ago. Lindsay has extremely good route running, doesn't have blazing speed but more than enough, and he catches the football pretty well. Good slot receiver option here. I think you can even consider outside, but given the route running and speed, I think more so slot would be the best for him. The number 3 running back, Jim Jackson. We are likely to win this battle as well. He is a 4-star running back. He brings less speed than Montrell Bonds. He does have very good spin and juke. So I love to bring in another running back, and I'd probably redshirt Jackson. With Bonds next year, absolutely zero chance of him being redshirted. I tried to go after some great deep threats. I kind of gave up on this one for Jacob Freeman. We're down 1,200 points. Freeman had 95 speed and 89 route running, so while he didn't catch the football very well, I was willing to be patient, but we were just losing way too much ground, and he appears to be headed to South Carolina. We might get into this battle, though, for Joe Ward, who, like Freeman, also has great deep speed and is a good route runner, but doesn't catch the football very well. So we might still get another deep threat in this class. We are also looking at Casey Carter as a wide receiver option. He's a 6'5", 211-pound athlete. Decent speed, but it's the receiver skills that stand out to me the most, but it will take some refinement to get him ready to play. Oh, and here's one more player I found this week. How about Ali Smith? I love getting talented linebackers, and Smith is one I'll be going after aggressively, especially when we have more points to spend. Smith has great speed, better acceleration, is a pretty good tackler, has high block shedding, and has some upside there with the coverage maybe after a couple of years. I think that come maybe being a sophomore or a junior, if we redshirt him, I think Smith could be the leader of our defense if he decides to come here. Here's another wide receiver, Josh Williams, 6'3", 200 pounds, and great deep speed. Has better hands than Freeman and the other receiver I just talked about. Not a finished product, but it's hard to find deep threats at times, so I'm trying to find some even if they won't play for a couple years. I also have a lot of interest here in Aaron Ward, and we're currently in the lead against Wisconsin for the 4-star athlete. And he has good speed, really good zone coverage, but not very good man coverage. I think he'd fit at either running back or safety. His running back skills look really good, but I'm not sure if we'd need him to play there. I think that running back's becoming a better position for us with Bonds and likely Jim Jackson. So Aaron Ward might be a defender for us if we do get him, but we can definitely find a home for a player with his talent. And one more linebacker here, we have Anthony Payne. We're in first place in this battle, and Payne has outstanding speed, block shedding ability, maybe some pass rush upside, cover ability is there. Let's keep adding these talented linebackers to what we have going. They are what really makes our defenses work, I think. So those are the players that I'm focused on, and now after going through them on an individual level, this might actually be a pretty special recruiting class depending on how these battles go. We're still early in the season, but hopefully as decisions get made and we can move on to some other secondary players that I've been looking at, we can start to put together a pretty good class here. But the quarterback position is the main one I want to see how it goes. I obviously want to get Lameka Warrick on this team, but I'm not confident in that battle going our way. If we get Luke Irvin, that would be awesome as well. We would probably redshirt him and hope he wouldn't transfer, and maybe even consider looking for another quarterback a year from now. I like the scheme that we run, and I prefer to run it. But if it doesn't work out and our best quarterback doesn't fit, then we're going to move to the best quarterback and build the offense around them. We did it with JR Battle and had a lot of success. I would be willing to do it again with Luke Irvin. So that's all I believe I want to talk about regarding recruiting today. So up next we have Kalispell hoping to get back on track in a game against Arizona State. We obviously got destroyed once again by Stanford, so we know going into next year that there's going to be a strong narrative around whether or not we're a better team than Stanford or whether or not we can even compete with them. The 2 games we've lost to them have not been particularly close, and now they take the first chance at holding down this division this year after they defeated us but did lose a couple times in conference down the stretch. But Stanford looks a lot better this season. We do have Arizona State next, and then Washington State, then the big game against Auburn, a maybe undefeated Oregon team. We'll have to see if they can keep it up. Washington, Oregon State later in the year is ranked very highly. So I think overall the conference is better this year, and there should be way more tough matchups than we saw a year ago. Don't forget about Cal, last game of the season. We actually don't close against Hawaii this year for once. So I'm very excited about the rest of this year, and I'm very excited to see what Montrell Bonds can do when his Kalispell career gets underway. You know I'm trying to avoid Aaron Higdon Part 2, and I don't think that's going to happen. Bonds is special, but I should compare him to Aaron Higdon. That was a while ago, though. Overall, let me know your favorite recruits down below in the comment section. Who do you think would make the biggest difference here at Kalispell in year 10? That is all for me today, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Please leave a like on the video. Those are very helpful. Don't forget to leave your feedback down below in the comments and subscribe to the channel as we are closing in here on 200,000 subscribers. As I record this right now, we're at 199,206. So hopefully not too far from now. And then we'll do some sort of celebration. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll be seeing you soon.